All right, so this video is for anybody looking to start a restaurant and sign a lease, or maybe you're an experienced operator and maybe you want to be a little bit more educated on the basics of commercial real estate. That's what I'm going to run through here. Some types of leases, some characteristics of ideal real estate, and some number stuff. Now, look, this is going to be extremely basic. So it's like a 101 course. I'm going to make additional videos that will kind of build from here, but we got to start somewhere. So I figured why not start at the very basic, very easy sort of understanding of what exists, because let's face it, there is really no other more important decision that you're going to make than finding the right real estate and signing the right lease for your restaurant. So let's start with the three main types of leases that you're most likely to run into. All right, first up is a gross lease. This is very simple. You will see the rent advertised as gross, $10,000 a month, $5,000 a month, whatever it is. That means that's what you pay, period, until the next year where you may have an escalation. But there are no other costs associated with your monthly rent. That's a gross lease. It's simple, it's predictable, very easy to understand. Next, and probably the most common when it comes to restaurant and retail real estate, is a triple net lease. You may see it expressed as net or NNN. That is where the tenant pays a base rent and then is responsible for additional expenses. Now, those expenses are typically expressed on a per square foot basis, like the rent. So sometimes it's confusing. You'll see like $25 a square foot plus 10 NNN. So that means you're paying a base rent of $25 a square foot plus $10 for insurance, taxes, and the other end is usually common area maintenance. Like if the landlord has to take care of the parking lot, or if they're replacing the light bulbs or taking care of the lawn, those expenses are incurred by the landlord and they pass those expenses on to you based on your square footage. Important to understand that those are not negotiable. Those are expenses that the landlord incurs and then passes on to you. They are not supposed to be making money on that. So it's not uncommon to say, hey, can I see a breakdown of these triple net charges? So find out what they are. Make sure you understand that you're responsible for the base rent plus the triple net charges. Then you add that number together, multiply it by your square footage, divide by 12, that's your monthly rent. Now, don't worry, I'll go through all the details later on and formulas and all that fun stuff. But right now, just understand that you'll have a base rent plus a triple net charges. That would wind up being your total rent. Now, lastly, which is sort of like a hybrid of the two, is called a modified gross lease, where the financial responsibility is kind of split. What I see most commonly is the tenant is responsible for their rent plus the increase in taxes year over year. Let's just say your rent is $5,000 a month and you speak to the landlord and you find out what the property taxes are and he says they're $3,000. If they go up to $4,000, you are responsible for the extra $1,000 for the year. Be clear on that. It's not another $1,000 a month. It's another $1,000 a year. Here's a tip. Get the tax card for the current year. This way, when he presents the tax bill for the next year, you'll see what that increase is. And if anything looks off, you can always check with the town. Now, those are the three types of leases. But now let's talk about some other aspects to a proposed site that will make your site either attractive or something you should probably just pass on. Now, if you've watched my content before, you know that I've said just because it was a restaurant doesn't mean it's the right restaurant for your concept. What I'm really saying there is whoever their customers were may not be your customers, or their customers were never here and that's why it didn't work for them. Either way, you're going to want to make sure you do your homework and find out who your core customers are, meaning the demographics, or if you want to go even deeper, the psychographics of your customers. I will go into that in full detail later on, but basically you know what it is, how much money they make, where they went to school, what type of house they have, how many kids they have at home. All that stuff is what makes your core customer, demographically speaking. To go even deeper, psychographically doesn't just say like, hey, they make this much money, but they say they make this much money and they work in these industries. They don't say they drive luxury cars. They say the types of cars they drive, what types of colleges they went to. So it goes a little bit deeper, even going in so much as to analyzing credit card data of people in your market to see where they shop and how they spend their money and how they consume their media. It's very cool stuff. This is the way real estate site selection is done at the top level, and it's becoming more and more commonplace for mom and pops and franchises every single day. Now that you know your core customers are in the market and you have your eye on this site, there are three things that are very, again, super basic, but important to mention. One is accessibility. How easy is it to access the site? Is it in the back of a shopping center? Is it in the front of a shopping center? Is there parking up front? Is it a standalone building? Whatever it is, look at it and see, is it accessible? I will say traffic patterns change throughout the day and often every day of the week has different traffic patterns, right? Weekdays are different than weekends. So when you're looking at a site, I suggest you go out there different times of the day, different days of the week to see how the traffic pattern might affect the ability to access the location. Second, maybe even ahead of accessibility, is visibility. Can people see it? A lot of conversation about this. Like, do I have to be visible if I have a really strong digital presence and my orders are mainly pickup and delivery? Different conversation, but typically you want people to see your business, right? McDonald's and all these guys, they don't go in the back of the shopping center. They go in the front of the shopping center. They want to be seen. They want that sort of like, hey, there's McDonald's. I'm going to stop in. I wasn't planning on it, but I love that place. I'm going to stop in. For your restaurant, you want to be able to be seen. If you're in a shopping center, those big pylon signs, can I see the sign? That's why it's so important when you're negotiating your lease to negotiate your signage properly. And lastly, it should go without saying, parking. If I can see it and I can access it, but I can't park, not great, right? So you kind of want all three. Now, I understand in different settings, New York, Miami, any kind of major metropolitan downtown, parking is sort of a non-factor because it's an urban environment. So there's more foot traffic than there is vehicular traffic. Anyway, safe to say most restaurants want parking. So visibility, accessibility, and parking are three things you're going to want to check out. Now, I just want to take a break here and let you guys know that I have built sort of like a model of what I use for my clients. It is something where you can track sites and analyze sites and score them based on a lot of these different characteristics. So you can find that in the link here in the show notes, but it's a great tool. I mean, I suggest you guys use it because when you're going out there and you're just looking at sites, it gets confusing, right? Which one did I see? Is that the one that didn't have parking, or is that the one that was, really great condition, but cost a little bit more? Whatever it is. It's a tracker, it's built on Google Sheets, and it has the ability where you can custom score each one based on how much you value each one of those things. So again, the link is below, and I suggest you guys check it out. And lastly, can you afford it? You know what your rent is. You know what your triple net charges are. What else? What else is going to come into play that you're going to have to pay every month? Make sure you're crystal clear on that. Is it garbage? Is it water? How are the utilities paid for? All of those things go into your overhead, and they're things that you need whether you're busy or you're not busy. So they're typically not anything that you can really scale back. Like, you're not going to use less lights if nobody walks in, right? You may use a little less gas because you're not cooking as much, but I don't want to belabor the point. Understand what you're responsible for. If you don't control it, again, find out how they're getting that number. Can you see the bill? If you control it, obviously you can do a little bit better job mitigating that expense. But in general, understand who is paying for what and what you're responsible for, just to turn the key and open the door every day. And I just want to end with this. To really understand the market, you need to work with a broker. As a tenant, 99.9% of the time, you do not pay that broker. That broker's fee is paid by the landlord. So you get a professional who sits side by side with you, do your homework, make sure they specialize in restaurants. If you need help with that and you're in a major market, send me a DM. I could probably refer somebody to you. But if not, just ask them, what restaurant deals have you done? What does the market look like for restaurants right now? Is there key money? How much term is left on the lease? What is market? Meaning, is this a market rent? Or is it common for the landlord to give tenant improvement allowance? Is it common for the landlord to give additional time for free rent? All those things, an experienced broker will know. They'll know if you're getting a good deal or not. They'll know if this is something you should pursue or not, based on what you're being offered and what the market is typically offering restaurants like this. That gives you more leverage to negotiate, right? You understand what's out there and what you have in front of you. That's a big deal. If you don't understand what's happening in the rest of the market, you could be making a bad deal. You obviously don't want that, because these are expenses that are going to last you the next 10 years, maybe longer. Get you a broker, allow them to negotiate and understand where you want to be in relation to the market, and just kind of have that conversation with another professional on the other side that can say to you, okay, this is where we can get this done. Don't ask for too much, but also don't be afraid to ask for things that you feel like you deserve, or something that you think isn't quite looking right, or something that you need for your business. All right, guys, that's it. If you found this overview kind of rundown of commercial real estate for restaurants 101 at all interesting, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. And again, there are going to be a lot more videos. We're going to run through a variety of different topics. But if you have any questions, things that you want to have answered about your specific property, leave them in the comments or send me a DM or reach out to me. The link is in the show notes. And that's it. I'll see you guys next time.